Copy link.
All right, and it looks like we are live.
Hey.
Hello, everyone. Welcome
Hello.
to another CFN live stream
Hey.
party.
Hey.
This stream is really exciting. It is our first ever episode of Fred Table Talk, which is really all about our network members and showcasing what you guys do. You might be noticing a couple new faces on the stream today. So before we get into what we have planned for everything, I think we're going to get some introductions going. Sounds good with everybody?
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
do it.
Sounds great.
So I'm Anira. I am the operations and community manager here at Frederator. If you sent a support ticket within the past 4 months, we've probably had a conversation or two. I am, answering all of your support tickets and taking care of any YouTube related issues. I'm now the host for all of your live streams going forward, writing all of your newsletters and assisting in any new channels that you're, trying to bring into the network. If you ever need to reach out to me, you can reach out at support@frederator.com by starting a support ticket on your dashboard. And if you're on our Discord server, you can reach out to me by DM at No More Seniors.
Cool.
Awesome.
You guys, I think, if you tuned in before, you know me. I'm Polly. I'm a talent manager. So I work with you guys one-on-one, onboarding more creators to work with us or join the Discord or something like that. You may also see me in the Discord. And yeah, I just try to help everybody, check their boxes as much as possible.
I'm Marley. A lot of you probably know me already, but in regards to today's topic, I will be speaking as executive producer of Cartoon Punch, which was our game show that we launched late last year. So I hope some of you guys got to tune in and watch that.
Ivan?
Oh, that's my turn. Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Ivan. I go by Ivan Animated on YouTube because I guess I make animated videos. I'm one of the co-creators of Cartoon Punch. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the show if you managed to catch it.
All right. Yeah. Hello, I'm Corey. I go by Ultra on YouTube. I'm also a co-creator of Cartoon Punch. Yeah, you guys should definitely check it out. It's pretty cool. Me and Ivan just do a little animation stuff on YouTube.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you guys have a third co-creator as well, right?
Yes.
Yeah, Get Mads, if anyone's familiar with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. So yeah,
he's not very cool. He's kind of lame.
Yeah, we don't like him.
No.
He's not very mad. He's actually pretty chill. So the dude's whole brand is a lie.
Yeah.
So we've got 2 co-creators out of 3 and the executive producer of the show Cartoon Punch. You guys may have been watching that live on the Twitch channel, maybe seeing some highlights on the CFN YouTube channel, may have heard about it in the newsletters. The reason we wanted to talk to you guys today, you 3, is basically to just kind of get the chance to highlight some more of the creative process in the network. I think we have a lot of members who, like to think that, an idea can really go far with cooperation with the network. And this is an example of that happening. You guys had this idea, you brought it to Marley, and it was able to take off and it was able to get developed and have a future. So that's kind of the point of what we're aiming for with the Fred Table Talk, highlighting more creators in the network who, were able to, I think, execute what inspires them most, who are able to maybe be full-time on YouTube, for example, like, just, I think, more highlights of what's fueling your passion with this creator platform, and hopefully be able to kind of inspire the other viewers of these live streams as well.
All right.
So yeah, we just have a few questions for you guys. I think that's going to be pretty much the pace of the next hour or so, like just kind of learning a little bit more about your process, some challenges maybe, and maybe at the end some Q&A from participators viewing us right now. But Anir, do you want to kick off some questions?
Absolutely. So we'll start off, focusing with Cartoon Punch. And please feel free to be as descriptive as you like. We want to hear it all. We want the nitty gritty. We want to know what got you to this idea. So first question is, why did you feel you had to make this program? Like what was like, you know what? Cartoon Punch is the one. This is what I need.
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So at least from a personal standpoint, I feel like we needed to do Cartoon Punch because we were familiar with other similar live shows, and we really wanted to make something different that really focused on the audience and the fans rather than just the personalities up on stage. So that was like a big factor that we tried to keep into consideration is how do we get it so that the audience feels like they're actually part of the show. And what we really wanted to do was kind of capture that kind of energy of like zany Japanese game show with audience participation. And I feel like that was one of the main driving forces for making the show, just because it's like fun and it's different and you don't really see anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely the audience interaction is the most important factor that we wanted to play up into. Having the audience involved in every way possible that we can get them involved was the main goal. And then obviously, just to give people a fun night to have something to watch is obviously, the other main goal. But I think it brings something different to the table than what other people are already bringing. And that was the intention. So, yeah.
Yeah, and from like a producer's role, we had actually been talking about wanting to do like some live programming when the guys brought Cartoon Punch to us. At that point, we had I think about like 3 or 4 conventions under our belt where we had seen similar programming. And we wanted to get into the game ourselves because, at least for me, at every show that we went to, there was always an element of like, I like this. This is really fun, but like, there's a way we could do this better. And it just happened to be, I think, like pure synergy that the guys brought Cartoon Punch, the idea of Cartoon Punch to us at the same time as we were having our own internal discussions about like what Frederator's role within the realm of live programming would be. And so it was just like a really easy decision to sign on and help the thing get made.
You guys kind of touched upon, I think, some other people or other, I guess, creators and live things you've seen in your sphere in order to kind of help conceive the idea. What's something maybe you were able to like learn from people who did it before you or your peers kind of, within YouTube, other big YouTubers, like stuff you see, like you want to take or you don't want to do, things like that?
Yeah, what have I seen? I think I've seen Drawfee live and Game Grumps live, and I've seen a little bit of Scribble Showdown. And from those shows, what we really wanted to do was you really just feel like an audience member. And it also just feels like, what is it? At least to me, this isn't me ragging on those shows because they're fantastic, but it doesn't really feel like anything more than, oh, those are just, it's just the YouTubers, but now they're on stage and they're just doing the same stuff you always see them do, but now they're in front of you. So I feel like with us, or when we finally get that opportunity to have a stage and a live performance, we really want to make it seem like it's like an event. It's not just, oh, it's 8-bit Ultra on stage. He's just going to talk and draw like normal. It's going to be like an actual, like, things are happening. People are getting involved and things like that. I really feel like there needs to be that kind of like, I guess, breaking of the barrier between just being a viewer and being like part of the show. I guess at least that's how I've seen it.
Yeah, I agree with that. Um, I saw Scribble Showdown, but I also saw Super Mega live, and I the energy that they had for their live show just made me want to do so much because that was probably the funniest live show I've ever been to. They shaved their heads on stage.
Wow,
Um,
that's crazy.
yeah, that was really good, and I was like, man, this would be so great to like. I mean, because they're very far removed from this sort of stuff that we're doing for this live show, this sort of community and everything. I was like, man, I want to bring that energy to just this community, this style of show, and like the stuff that we're doing. You know, I think that would be really interesting. It's not really been done in this community, at least in this way. So I think it'd be important and really fun to do so, just to get our community together, to just do some weird thing together. Because like I don't know, I feel like a lot of the community hasn't really been able to do a lot of stuff like this. Like there's a few things that have happened, but I think it'd be cool to just get as many people as we can involved to just have a fun night and entertain people.
Yeah, everything that they just said. I think something else I learned from seeing stuff at conventions and Scribble Showdown especially was that it almost didn't matter. I guess like it matters, but not as much as I thought it would. Like the structure of the game or the games itself, so much as it mattered that people were like had good energy and were having fun on stage. And I remember like when we would sit down to come up with games, at least for me, that was I think probably one of the more stressful parts of the process. And then when we actually got running with the show, there were hiccups that happened, but it almost didn't matter because everybody was having fun. And that's what the audience ultimately cared about the most. And when I look back on things like Scribble Showdown, that was also the case. Like when I saw Scribble Showdown at VidCon in 2019, there at one point, all their displays blue screened. I don't know if you guys remember that. All their
Yeah,
all their displays that they were drawing on blue screened, and they just rolled with it and were funny about it and just like were kind of like ripping into the technology with bits while they were getting reset up, and it was fine. Like the show didn't stop flowing, everything kept going as usual, and everyone had a great time. And I think once we like realized that, I think the show like really took off and found its flow.
yeah.
Love that. But I'm really curious to hear how like this collaboration came to be. Like how did you guys come together as a group? I know I've heard why you made Cartoon Punch, but why you three or you four? You know, Mads isn't here, but why you?
Man, that's a good question. I feel like for one, I've known both Mads and Corey and Marley for a very long time. Actually, in its earliest inception, Cartoon Punch was more of a it was like a hub or like a website for
Yeah.
adult, not adult as in like rated R, but like older audience animation, as opposed to what was going on at the time, which is very family friendly, kid friendly, like, oh man, you know, don't swear or talk about this. So that's what Cartoon Punch was originally, but then we ended up adapting it into this like live show. I forgot why though. I think we just wanted to do something fun. I really feel like it just stemmed from fun.
Wasn't it after the first Frederator meetup?
That was part of it. Yeah, we wanted to do another meetup, but like bigger and more
better.
Yeah.
More like not just like a panel, but like an actual event that we plan and stuff. But it's funny that you bring up the earliest like version of Cartoon Punch, because that was like half a decade ago at this point. That was in 2016. Yeah,
2016. So that's how long I've known Corey and Mads. I met Mads because what is it? I met him when he was first starting out, and he was actually helping us edit a podcast.
I introduced him to you.
Yeah.
And
then that's crazy.
I met Ivan in 2017 when I started at Frederator.
Yeah,
and that's where we met. And then I think in terms of like Cartoon Punch in its current inception, I think originally you guys brought the idea to Kenny, who is the head of the Frederator Network, for those watching that don't know. And Kenny was very much like, I'm not an artist or an animator, Marley. You look at this and you figure out what it can be. Because for those of you who don't know watching, I have my background is originally in animation, and I looked at what the guys had sent in, and then reached out, and then at first it just kind of started as some like Discord conversations about like what we thought it maybe could be, and then from there there was a point where it started to snowball very quickly until we realized that we had this like huge idea on our hands, and it was time to like put it into action.
Yeah.
That's interesting that you say it came like first as kind of like a website, and kind of like the different ways you plan executing it. Marley, you're an animator. You guys both kind of have a background in animation. Is there any other previous experience you felt like kind of prepared you for this, like hosting or anything like that?
I mean, for me, it was just the general like convention circuit stuff. Whenever Frederator goes to a VidCon or a MomoCon or a New York Comic-Con, me and my former coworker Nick Reed were kind of the faces for a lot of that programming. And especially New York Comic-Con, where like you're interviewing these cosplayers and you never know like what they're gonna say. You have to be able to like improv and be on your feet in the moment. And that just, I think out of all of the stuff I've done at Frederator, that probably prepared me in terms of hosting the most. And then in terms of like managing the show and like making sure people were showing up and stuff like that, I think those are skills I just naturally picked up over time in my managerial role here at the network. What about you guys?
I want to say just, working with other creators and having a background, well, not a background, a fair amount of experience with meeting people as a public figure, I feel like very helps like with the whole being on a show, being a talent, knowing or having an idea of what to expect when it comes to fan interactions and just overall what they want to look for as a fan and what you can put out as a creator. And I think that's really helped me, at least in helping plan and work with the team for Cartoon Punch.
I mean, it's definitely not the first time. I mean, like we've done stuff with Frederator before, with back in 2017. So I think, I mean, that would have been my first experience, for sure. Other than that, it's just picking up stuff from peers and learning as you go along, and just rolling with the punches.
Pun intended.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think in terms of like from a guest perspective, I mean, we would have to talk to some of them, but I think like the common trait amongst all the guests was like, you just be ready to go along with the craziness, and just kind of roll with it. You're gonna have more fun that way. Like there's an element of chaos purposely built into this show, so you can never like 110% predict what's gonna happen or like what you're gonna be drawing, for example. So just be ready to like let loose and kind of like button down a little bit. Don't be like uptight about anything.
Yeah. That's a big part of the show. I feel like I feel like any contestant needs to be able to just do that.
Yeah.
Like kind of keep it moving, keep rolling forward.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
geez. Love it. So going again into the nitty-gritty with Cartoon Punch, what were some of the decisions that you guys had to make when you were creating the show? So I know you kind of went into why you would prefer like a live show versus like pre-recorded, but why Twitch over YouTube? Why did you choose live? Like what were the big factors into the final decisions for this?
Yeah, in terms of Twitch over YouTube, it was a couple things. First off, Twitch is the biggest live platform for live streaming. I know we are live streaming on YouTube right now, and we love you, YouTube, but you're not the best for live streaming. Twitch has a much better infrastructure for something like that. And secondly, I think as a company, we want to always be trying new ventures and stuff like that. And there's really like Twitch has an art category on its site, but there's no real big like prestige programming in it the way that you have like the Fortnite World Cup or the various charity streams that are happening and stuff like that. And I think for us from like a company perspective, it seemed like we're like, this is uncharted territory and we could really stake our claim here if we play our cards right.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely.
Oh, sorry, did you want to add to that, Corey?
Oh no, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, in terms of pre-recorded versus live, I feel like the main idea, well, what we really want to do was to preserve the fact that this is like an event. This is like it's happening right now. These are people performing and like doing stuff. So I think that's the main reason why we didn't want to like just have everybody run OBS pre-recorded and then just throw it up on YouTube, is we still wanted it to feel like an activity, like, oh, the next episode is next week at this time. I better sign on, and so I could catch like the pregame or whatever, and things like that. Like we wanted to actually feel like you were like at an event.
Yeah, and especially right now during the pandemic, like
yeah,
people were and are still desperate for ways to connect. And like what better way to give them that, and then even better, we were giving the money to charity as well. So it was just like, like we're presenting you with a way to not just interact, but to have fun and also help people in need. So I think, from Cartoon Punch day one to now, that live element has always been very, very important, even if we kind of had to shift how exactly that live element looked.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, originally in a pre-pandemic world, this was all planned to be like a physical live show that you would go to and see in person. And still want that at some point, but we don't know how the world's going to be in 6 months, a year, 2 years, But no, I think you can't have it pre-recorded, because at the start of this thing, this entire show is supposed to be an event that you are a part of as a viewer, and you can't really do that whenever it's pre-recorded, or at least not in the way that we would want it to be done. So I think it would not work any other way besides live in some form or fashion.
It's interesting, like, to hear, I think, kind of some of the stuff you guys like that came really natural, and the stuff that like came like kind of more difficult or like was more of a hurdle. Like from my point of view, when I heard the idea, I heard it with all of the challenges in the games already planned out. So I was like, what, like these guys must just be like constantly just like having all these ideas back and forth. Like I had no idea that was something you guys like thought was maybe a more difficult thing. Was there something like, anything, I guess, like to kind of wrap up the Cartoon Punch sort of segment of the questions, like anything that like surprised you there or like changed your idea over time or something like that?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think.
Yeah.
Was there anything that really affected the whole outcome of the show? I mean, I feel like besides the pandemic.
Yeah.
I
think planning structure and learning how to make a cohesive structure for a show was definitely a big point that we kind of just had to figure out together. I mean, because I mean, I'm not gonna assume, but I'm pretty sure none of us have ever done anything like this specifically before. So I think it was definitely a new thing for all of us, learning how to make something that is readable and people would understand. Or at least kind of understand. And I think we did an okay job with that.
Yeah, like I don't think we mastered it in one show. Like we had a post-mortem discussion after we finished it about like things we want to do better and things we want to cut or change and whatnot. You know, it's always going to be a learning process. But I mean, the biggest, most obvious one is the pandemic. The live in-person version of Cartoon Punch that we originally planned had a very different flow and structure to it. And when, pardon my French, but when shit hit the fan with Corona, you know, we very much had to like stop, rework what we could, cut what we couldn't. And we were kind of like doing that on the fly because we also had a timetable for when the show had to come out.
Yeah.
Stressful.
Well, Ivan, do you have anything to add, or?
No, I think that's pretty much it. Yeah.
All right, well, that concludes the Cartoon Punch segment of our Fred Table Talk. Let's switch over more towards your personal YouTube channels. You both have your own, your separate niches. What do you feel is the advantage of running a YouTube channel within that niche?
Oh, that's easy. We just got in early.
Oh. that is true. I think we popped in around, I want to say it was like either the second or third wave of this whole draw yourself and talk about a story. You know, that was fairly new at the time.
Yeah, 2016.
I think
2015.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, there's only like 3 or 4 channels that were really hitting it off.
Mm-hmm. Now there's hundreds.
There's so many now.
Yeah, there's
so many. But I do feel like the biggest advantage of even doing this is just the fact that it's such what is it? It's going to sound really weird, but doing animation is very difficult and it takes a long time, which means a lot of people won't do it, or they'll try and then they'll give up. So the people that kind of just stick with it and stick around, you end up building up a pretty loyal audience because they're trying to watch more. If they're really into like story time, they'll look for other people. And if there's not a lot of people doing it, then you'll somehow make your way into their sub box. So that's probably one of the bigger advantages about it. It's very niche.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree with all of that.
Yeah.
It's very niche, and hearing how early you guys all got into it makes more sense, how you found each other so early on too.
Yeah. Actually, going back to the whole inception of Cartoon Punch, that was the reason why, is because at the time there weren't a lot of other people doing more, I want to say, mature stories, like except for people, I mean, there's a lot of like kids talking about how
there was a lot of people our age.
Yeah, it was a lot of kids talking about like school or my first pet.
I got on the wrong bus one
time. Things like that. So we were like, oh well, people our age, at least at the time, like they're very few and far between. So that's why we were like, let's start our own thing.
Exactly. Yeah. That was the entire thing. We were like, yeah, let's just do a thing for people our age. And that was the original thing for Cartoon Punch, and it's changed so wildly. It's really like funny
evolved. To see.
Yeah. So you also talked about just the time it takes to do animation. Do you feel there are disadvantages to being like a specifically animated animation channel?
Oh yeah, it is definitely that time, because you have to keep your audience engaged, and people on YouTube do not have a long attention span. If you don't upload for 2 to 3 months, you are forgotten, right? So it is pretty crazy. It's one of the bigger strengths, but it's also like one of the biggest weaknesses is production is very long.
Yeah.
So you have to really find either a compromise and post reasonably, or you just make your magnum opus every single time. There's like no in between. Like you really have to just kind of like figure it out. And I feel like that's what a lot of channels struggle with, is like, oh my God, it's been 5 months. If I put this out, will it even be good enough? People will be like, oh, he's been gone for half a year and this looks like the same shit. Like, what is he doing?
Yeah, it's like Minesweeper.
Yeah, Minesweeper. What do you mean?
You got to be very careful with how you play it. You either got to be really efficient and post frequently, or you
Oh,
gotta
okay.
you got to take your time and make the best decision possible.
I was like,
whenever,
where's
with
he
how you
going
make it.
with this?
Sounds like
It's
Minesweeper.
like
What
you're like
what
trying
the
to avoid
fuck?
bombs, man.
Miss-
Oh, man.
Listen,
That was a solid analogy. But yeah, that really is it. It's like
Yeah,
it's
it
either
probably wasn't.
it's hard to find a happy compromise between the two, and I think that's one of the bigger struggles is because of that. It's either you lose your audience or you find newer people, and it just kind of, I don't know, man, kind of just fluctuates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, you mentioned kind of almost feeling like if you do take too long, your subscribers are like, where have you been? I want a new video, post something. Where do you personally draw that line then between pleasing your audience and then making sure you're sticking to your own artistic expression and, producing good content?
I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I don't. I feel like I just kind of say, man, no, I don't care about that. I'm just gonna make like stuff that I enjoy, and if people like it, they like it. If they don't, then I don't really care. Which is probably not the greatest mindset, but it's the healthiest mindset for me personally.
Right on.
Exactly.
But yeah,
I'm still struggling with that concept because over the years I've been doing this since 2016, so it's been like half a decade. But I still struggle with that because I'm like, well, telling stories is fun. I have a lot to tell, but it gets old. I'm like, I'm not having fun making them, but that's what people want to watch. And then if you want to step out of that zone and make something different, then you'll enjoy the process of making it, but no one's going to enjoy watching it because that's not what they signed up for. So it really is another one of those things where it's like you're either all in doing what the audience wants or you're just not listening to them at all because no, everybody's just hard to please. And if you try and meet in the middle, then it's weird. And it's kind of sad to say, if you try to meet in the middle between what you want to make and what the audience wants to watch, you end up hurting yourself more because now your views and your engagement is less than if you actually just gave in and did what they wanted to see. And then you're still not fulfilling your own creative outlook because it's not even what you 100% want to do. So it really is, at least how I see it, you got to pick one or the other. And I'm still struggling with that. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough out there.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Tough, but well said, I think. I think that's really sometimes the hardest thing to navigate as a creator. So I think that's just interesting to hear and even helpful for me to hear just as a fan of these channels, like about kind of what the creators, all the decision making that has to go into it.
Mm-hmm.
And then what do you guys feel about Frederator? Like, what have you been able to use of a Frederator resource or tool that's helped? Like, is there something that maybe you didn't try before that you tried now, or something that you were kind of encouraged to tap into, I guess, like in terms of like a software or just like a type of content?
To be honest, Frederator has just helped me out with any problem I've had, just like so easily, anytime. It's super nice. Like I'll go to like Marley or someone with a question, and then like just it'll be fixed, and I'm like, oh, that was easy. Awesome.
Yeah, I really appreciate the fast response time for whenever there's an issue. I remember Marley helped me get my silver play button because YouTube was giving me a problem because they're like, oh, you can't prove that you're you. I'm like, no, I am me. Please give me the silver play button. So I really, in that regard, yeah, Frederator has been super helpful. But in terms of like making other content, I remember when, we were very like open to starting like a podcast or doing things on our other channel that we had together, and that was very much encouraged by Frederator. So that really like kind of pushed us into that direction because we were also given the opportunity to like use the studio every once in a while to record because not everybody had like a solid microphone or a good camera. And that was another thing that like really kind of like helped us produce content that we wouldn't normally be able to do because we didn't have the resources.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then just smaller things like if there's like an issue with like AdSense or whatever.
And the whole the 2017 live show that we did was a huge opportunity that could not have been done without Frederator.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I think that's important to mention. Yeah.
Frederator gave me my job, so that's I was able to move out of my parents' place.
There we go. I think Marley benefited the most out of everyone here. They just let me use a microphone. They gave Marley a house, bro.
Way of life.
Yeah.
So we actually mentioned a little bit earlier how the pandemic has kind of thrown us all through a loop. So, in regards to like your YouTube channel and just content creation overall, has the pandemic changed, your trajectory? And if it has, how did you recover, or if you are still recovering, what's going on?
Here we go, man. Who wants to answer it first? Who wants to take that?
From Frederator's perspective, it's changed it wildly. For a little like background info, 2020 was probably supposed to be the busiest travel year for the company in terms of shows and stuff we had going on. VidCon, MomoCon, New York Comic-Con. We were supposed to go to South by Southwest. Cartoon Punch was still taking shape as a live in-person ticketed event. And when the pandemic happened, not only did like all those plans go away, all of a sudden all of our partners in those plans were like, well, we're converting the show to this streaming method. Here's sort of our model. Can you help us come up with programming for it? So now all of a sudden we also had to like think of new programming models, because we couldn't just shift over what we were going to do originally, because conversation flows are very different, in person versus a streaming event. So we kind of had to, figure all of that out. And then in the midst of all that, we had to deal with people's stuff. Like, we're in the middle of a global pandemic where everyone's locked inside. So somebody like might have agreed to do a show, but then, 2 days beforehand was like, hey, I'm really having a tough go of it right now. I don't think I can handle this. And then all of a sudden we were like left having to, reshape a thing. So I think we've figured it out for the most part. We'll see. We don't have any programming lined up immediately in the future, but I think like if we reach a point where we're still having to do streaming content, I think like, although 2020 definitely put us through the ringer, I think we're pretty ready for like whatever challenge ends up coming up.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's the mentality I'm trying to keep. 2020 has kept me on my toes. I am now traumatized. I expect the worst every day now.
Yeah.
So, but how the pandemic has affected me personally, or in terms of my YouTube channel, I want to say it's definitely given me a lot more free time to make stuff, but same thing, it's also given me too much free time to think about the stuff that I'm making. So now I'm just very much like, well, what do I want to do? What do people want to watch? And I am just always conflicted about what the next step should be.
Yeah, I'm sitting on about 4 half-written scripts right now.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. No, I 100%. I've been sitting on a video for like probably 2 months now. But yeah, it's really affected me in terms of not my workflow, but just mental state, because it's like, well, now it's hard to be, I guess, creative and to put myself in that state of wanting to make things when like, well, I don't even like want to do anything, period, because everything is just hard, and this is just not fun. So I don't know, man. You have anything to add, Corey?
I mean, for me, it's given me the opportunity to be like, oh, I want to learn this program, or like, oh, I want to learn how to do this. So I've been able to sit down for hours at a time and try to learn new things that I can eventually bring to the table. And when it comes to my own content or just my own work in general, I'm always trying to expand my capabilities and what I can do. And the pandemic, though, that has been very, very bad for me and everyone else involved, obviously. It's given me the opportunity to just reevaluate how I want to do things. and my goals for whenever I create something have slightly shifted. And I think I want to go about things more efficiently and stylistically, and I can finally sit down for hours at a time and learn how to make these new things that I want to learn and make. Recently I've been getting into 3D, trying to learn how to do a lot of cool stuff with 3D. That's been interesting, and just learning new programs in general. I mean, I do not upload as much as Ivan, but you know, I think that my goal is for whenever I do upload, I want it to just be just a really cool video, and that's the goal. And I think I can. I'm getting close to achieving that at a point where I'm comfortable with saying that. I don't think they're quite where I want them to be yet, but that's okay because they eventually will be. And yeah.
Yeah, I will say one of the big blessings of Cartoon Punch for me, and you guys can chime in as well on this, was it kind of gave me a reason to not just leave stuff sitting half finished, because all of a sudden there were people counting on me, and there was a company counting on me, and there was money involved. And so I kind of had no choice but to like either like learn how to accept where something was at and hand it in and get ready to move along, or it got me working like really quickly, like, all right, I need to get this done as efficiently as possible. And the end result ended up being really good, because we had a Discord server for Cartoon Punch, and working on the show with everyone and like seeing everyone's messages back and forth just ended up creating this like really awesome support system where we were all working on the same thing together, and that made it really easy to get work done and to just like form a support system, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
I think that's what everybody needs right now.
Support system. Help us out, man.
Something I'll cling on to, man.
Yeah, like me, like Corey and I had a meeting one day for like 2 hours, and where we just ended up like coming up with all the punishments for the show. Yeah. You know, and just like little moments like that, like, you know, it was something we needed to get done because we were getting super close to the wire, and we banged it out, and it ended up being, I think, probably one of the best like work sessions that we had. And then that resulted in some really funny moments in the show itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of it was like just a lot of the interesting stuff that happened was just very organic and totally up to chance. Just because of the nature of it. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very creative.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Some fan questions or just network member questions. The last like 15 minutes or so. There's still time for people to submit them, right, Anira, if they have them?
Absolutely.
You want to read them off?
Yeah, so we have a couple. The first one is from Hardy. They're asking, you know, I'm still trying to start out in animation, and even while I'm like dancing around my high school schedule, I want to get better at making content. It's scary using only free software, so could you guys tell me about that? So basically, I think they're asking if there's any software maybe that you guys recommend that might offer like a discount, or, you know, your best tips and tricks for using free software to improve on with making content.
Yeah. So I mean, I started doing this whenever I was in high school also. I always have used Adobe products though, but Clip Studio Paint or Clip Studio, yeah, that goes on sale all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure that has some animation features, right?
Yeah. The best thing about Clip Studio is, one, it's not a subscription. So you aren't, for Adobe products, if you're not a student, I think you're paying $75 a month for the Adobe suite, which is, it's a crime. That is a crime.
I get robbed every month.
Yeah. And if you just want one program, I think it's like $30. It's still not worth it.
Yeah.
But for Clip Studio, while it's not as nuanced as something like Flash or I guess Adobe Animate, you can learn a lot. Like there's still a lot of things you could do with Clip Studio in terms of animation.
Absolutely.
Or like if you want to just messing around. You know what's surprisingly sophisticated? The stupid Flipnote DS app.
Yeah. Well,
That
good luck
is-
getting that now.
That is weirdly sophisticated. I just got into it because of the pandemic and I was just bored. And you can do like you could resize things, slide them across the screen. You could do like fake tweens on that app. If you want to like learn animation, just download that or
That's how I
find a
learned as a
DS.
kid.
Yeah, find a DS with Flipnote Studio. It's extremely easy to use and surprisingly sophisticated. Fire
Yeah.
Alpaca is another good free program that I believe has some animation capabilities built in, and it again 100% free. What else? I'm trying to think of all the things I used when I was broke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If he is watching and you have an iPad, Procreate
Procreate, yeah,
is
yeah.
a fantastic piece of software.
Great.
I've moved probably all of my workflow into Procreate. I don't even into my iPad. To be honest, I don't even touch the Adobe products anymore. Procreate is great for
That's
drawing because they strip out a lot of the stuff that's in Photoshop that like an illustrator is never going to use. So it is like just pure drawing. And then in terms of animating, playing off of what Ivan said, something that is surprisingly in-depth is Flip-a-Clip.
Flip-a-Clip is great. Yeah.
Flip-a-Clip is on iPod, Android, and iPhone. So it's a really, really great little piece of animation software. It's free. You have to watch ads if you use the free version. But like if you want to buy it, I think it's like $5. And they constantly support and upgrade it. So like if you want to buy like a cheap old iPad and like an first generation Apple Pencil, I think that's a great way to get going, especially because you can bring it everywhere with you.
That's helpful just because for me, like working from home, maybe some other people working from home, it's hard to like, I think, create at maybe the same desk and even the same desktop that you're working on all day. And like having an iPad, you can kind of move around a little more.
Yeah.
And Hardy also just, don't forget to check out like the Frederator tools offered. Toon Boom is really fun to try.
Toon Boom is great.
There are a lot of Adobe softwares to try, and that's super overwhelming. But Toon Boom is like pretty professional, if that is something that matters to you or not. But I always just vouch for Toon Boom.
Toon Boom is really in depth and really good for a whole lot of stuff. You can do anything that you need to with Toon Boom.
With nodes and stuff. Toon Boom is nuts.
It's crazy.
Toon Boom is nuts, man. That shit scares me. I don't even want to touch it.
I've been meaning to get it for so long. I just haven't done
touch
it yet.
It, man. Yeah.
And it looks like we got one more question, but I think this is more directed to us, the CFN team. T-Bud asks, what do you guys like to hear when pitching like an idea similar to Cartoon Punch? So what's something you would look for if, they have something they're considering starting?
For me, it's that you're able to speak confidently about your idea. When the guys, and that doesn't mean that the idea has to be fully formed, because a project will change wildly from start to finish, I think, as you can tell from our discussion today. But just be able to speak confidently about the idea. If you're going to bring something to me, I want to know, or at least be able to feel like it's something that you believe in, and that you, even more importantly, believe in yourself to be able to pull it off. And, maybe if you're missing some of the other parts, like I can help you with that, but I can't help you, gain enthusiasm or gain confidence in your idea. You have to come to the table with that. So that's a big one for me.
I would say taking notes is good too. Bringing an idea kind of that you are willing to like maybe mold a little bit, you know, not to lose any integrity, but, you know, to, if you are trying to, you know, pitch to have some sort of collaborative approach or some sort of team like these guys pulled off, you know, it's letting other people's voices in to your idea too, which I think can be really hard. You know, this could be your baby. This could be, you know, maybe something you've been working on for 5 years or more. But I would say, yeah, having that kind of collaborative, open-minded, just kind of mindset, just, yeah, like let yourself learn something in the process too, I think, it helps, I think, seem excited too. Like, I think that's something that makes a channel or a creator seem excited to me, like whatever it takes to get this idea off the ground, or whatever it takes to work with you, or whatever, you know, some form of that, of wanting to hear other voices in the room, brings a lot of excitement too, and energy too.
Absolutely. And then piggybacking off of both of you, you know, the confidence and just the passion, I want to know that you, even if you, like Marley said, even if you don't have all the pieces, I want to know that you see something happening with this. I want to know why I should look at this idea and forward it to the next person. Why should we take this? What do you see the outcome for this? I love anyone that expresses passion. I love seeing passion. And if you're able to show that with any pitch you have, that's a big thing for me. But it looks like that is our last question for the day. And it's just in time because this is now the end of the stream. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for coming on for our first ever Fred Table Talk.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
This is cool.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to plug your channel, any platforms or anything like that?
Yeah. So you could find me at Ivan Animated on YouTube, or you could also find me at Ivan GBM on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, I'm 8-bit ultra on everything, on YouTube, Twitter. There's a space between each word. And yeah.
Follow Cartoon Punch on Twitter for updates about the next show, which we're hoping we can announce soon. The Twitter handle is @punchcartoon. And if you want to stay up to date with me, I stream on Twitch. I'm taking a little bit of a break right now while I redo some visual assets. But I am Tricky_Kappa, like the monster.
The Greek letter too, right? Kappa?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Forgot about that.
But mine is more so in reference of the Japanese water goblin.
These are almost the same thing.
Yeah. Pretty similar. Yeah.
All right, well, guys, this was really informational for me, and it was a pleasure to see your faces, learn a little bit more about the behind the scenes, and get to know you guys a little better. And I think our members would say the same.
Yeah. This was
Awesome.
very cool to unpack, because I feel like I've never said any of this.
Yeah.
A Cartoon Punch at all.
We're excited for next, season when it comes.
Yeah.
And
Us too.
all right. And to all of our CFN members, thank you for tuning in. Get ready for the next episode of a Fred Table Talk, and have a great weekend.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Later.